college football calendar is crazy to the point of unsustainable. This is not a sentence you hear me say very often, but the NFL got this figured out, and college football doesn't. I like the NFL over college football when it comes to the way they operate their calendar. Now, part one of the problem is that no one person or no one group of people with any intimate knowledge or familiarity about what it takes to coach or run a program put the calendar together. It's just a bunch of people whose names you don't know and faces you wouldn't recognize that over time put this thing together, and then they don't have to operate in accordance with it. It would be like me making rules for something, and then I step away. Oh, no, I'm not participating. No, I'm just making the rules for you. Well, you wouldn't like that very much, would you? Imagine being a college football coach right now. Not a head coach, mind you. They make millions. Not an offensive or defensive coordinator. At the highest level, they also make millions. I want you to imagine, if you will, being a grad assistant or just working in a recruiting department. You're making $37,500 a year, something like that. Maybe less, maybe a little bit more. And your first impression in the morning is alarm goes off at 5 o'clock. You need to be in the building by 7. And then your last impression is you pulled in before the sun was up. You're leaving after the sun goes down. And you're not checking your Capital One account and seeing a $7,500, $100,000 spending limit on your credit card. You're not looking at your direct deposit and having it say, $35,000 every 2 weeks, not too bad. No, that's your yearly take home, and you're also having to work these hours. And you must look around and think, who made this calendar? And the answer is morons, not stupid people. They're just moronic/ignorant to basically what it takes to do this stuff. So I look at the NFL, and they have the same things college has, really. Think about this for a second. So the NFL has playoffs, just like college football does. They have a championship game, just like college football. They do that in January, February. But then that's when they do their staff moves. They don't do staff moves before. They don't do staff moves during, because they're smart enough not to interrupt the most important stretch of games and inventory that they have on their shelf. Then, and only then, after they crown a champion, do they start free agency, or as you would call it, the transfer portal. That happens in March for them. Then they have the draft, or as you would call it, signing day, in late April. You notice how we're spacing this stuff out, and then they release schedules for the upcoming year in May. I've gotten you to summer already. In college, we do all that in the span of a month. We have the portal open. We have early signing day happen. We have coaching moves going on. And then we got a playoff, and it all happens boom, 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 like a 4 or 5 layer cake on top of each other. And some of the same people in these buildings are responsible for doing all of it. It's not sustainable. And if you don't really want to feel bad about the big earners, then understand that's only like 0.2% of the people actually tasked with handling this stuff. When I'm college football commissioner, could be 1 week, could be 2 weeks, but when I'm college football commissioner, humbly, I would like to suggest this. And I'm going to start in June, okay? In June, I just want to bake in a big fat dead period for you guys. And I want you to go wherever you want to go. Wherever Cliff Kingsbury disappeared to last year for a little while, just go there. Go to the most remote corners of the earth imaginable and get away from football. You're going to need to, because you still got to do the same things. I'm just going to space them out a little bit for you. I would love for early signing day to be in July. Now, I go to the recruiting and personnel symposium every year, and they have fights about this thing. There are pros and cons to it. What I'd love is I'd love that early signing day to be moved up to July, and there are going to be some requisites along with this. I think that I would like offers to be mandatory committable. No offering a kid and then saying once he tries to commit, well, no, it's not quite committable yet. Well, that's not an offer. So what this would do is it would heavily police offers. So the most sure thing 5-star lot kids, they'd still have their offers. And the rule, if I'm commissioner, would be if you offer 5-star Colin, whether you're Bowling Green or whether you're Boise State, you offer 5-star Colin, if he tries to commit to you before that early signing day and you put an offer on his table, you got to take it. And the follow-up rule is Even if he gets hurt his senior year of high school, you're going to honor what you offered him. You know what that would do? It would really thin out the offer list. They'd still be there. You'd still have some big-time commitments, but it wouldn't be nearly to the degree it is right now. And don't worry. If you don't commit early, I'm still going to have the second signing day. It's just going to be a little bit later. Okay, so I want that wrapped up by early to mid-July. I'm going to bake you guys in another week or two of vacation, and then I want media days right before we open fall camp. No media days in mid-July, and then you take another 2 weeks. We're done with that. And then we open fall camp. And fall camp's in August. And then the regular season is September, October, November. We get to December. We're going to have Conference Championship Saturday. As of now, entertaining the idea of opening the portal the same time we normally do. I can't clean this up completely. I think we'll still have a bunch of coaching moves happening at the same time that we have a lot of players moving around. But what I'm not doing is I'm not stacking the early signing day on top of those things as it exists right now. I had the early signing day happen back in July. My other signing day is not going to happen all the way until next February, where it always has been parked, by the way. You got your playoffs in December. You got your national championship game in January. February is my second national signing day. And then what I would love to do in this sport is I would love to take March, and I would love to, before we open spring practice, I'd love to have that period of time where we do schedule reveals. So right now, college football is not structured at all in the way it does that. And even if you know the opponents you're going to face, you don't know the exact dates. So I would love to do a schedule reveal, sort of a tentpole event, right before spring practice is open. Then you have spring practice. You know that I have long advocated for spring games, which happen in April, to give you the option to schedule maybe an FCS team. Because I really am not interested in you playing FCS opponents in the fall. So a lot of you say, well, we got to keep the little guy afloat. Cool. I will give you a TV partner. I, as Commissioner Pate, will help facilitate television partnership deals between CBS, NBC, Fox, ESPN. And so I'm going to give them a valuable piece of inventory at the end of spring. They're going to fit the bill for that FCS team to come to Athens, Georgia, and take the same beating that they would in the fall. Only difference is you get to structure it, and it gets to be an actual event that people want to come see because it resembles a football game. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. You can have your normal spring game if you want to. For all I care, I'm going to incentivize you to play actual games, and then spring's over. Then, in May, we have the early portal, or second portal window, I guess we would call it, and it's largely the same as it is right now. Not a huge fan of it, but as far as I can tell, we do need to have it. And then, what do we have? Well, we have a whole year. That's what we just did. We get back to July. Now, that is part entertainment. That is hopefully part functionality for people to be able to breathe every once in a while. I hope I baked in enough vacation time. But if I didn't, then I'm open to suggestions. I know I'm going to get per capita, or pound for pound, whichever fits here, more feedback from player personnel and recruiting people than I will all year on this segment, because every one of them's got thoughts. You ought to sit in the room when we're at these symposiums and town hall type things, and I'm fortunate enough to be privy to some of them, moderated some of the panels, and it's spirited. It's spirited what folks think is necessary, what would work, what would the unintended consequences be if you move some of this stuff around, because it's always present. Always present.